Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I can see that there's quite a few of you waiting. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. All you have to do is leave a comment, say hello. If you can hear me, please say yes. I can hear you. Hello, Ewelina. Good to see you. Hello, and welcome to my channel. If you are new, don't forget to smash that subscribe and like button because YouTube really appreciate. Look at my hair. It's all over the place. Ooh. I am your imperfect virtual coach, y'all, okay? I'm your imperfect coach. There you go. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Holly Lee. I live stream twice a week, every single week at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you are going through I don't know why, that button keeps on coming back, my apologies. Make sure you download my star template, which is right over here somewhere, okay? This is the most innovative thing I've ever done at my time at Amazon. And guess what? It will hit the Amazon Leadership Principle 16 now, not 14, 100% absolutely free. It is a story of my time in the consumer hotline, how I was able to build 2 international team in less than 1 minute. It's going to help you land your position, and don't forget to give a girl a thumbs up. Today, I'm very excited because I have a very old friend network. Her name is she goes by E or Ewelina. It's Ewelina, tongue twist, yes. And English is indeed my 4th language, people, okay? So if you are struggling, if you're going through the interview anxiety of interviewing at Amazon, at Google, at Facebook, it doesn't matter for what companies. I love getting motivational speakers, interviewers who have gone through the interview process with top technology company called MATANG. In this case specifically, it is Amazon, because E has been at Amazon for over 10 years. She's been promoted multiple times, and she also recently relocated to Seattle. How cool is that? With further ado, let me go ahead and bring her in. Let me wrong side. Oops. There you go. Here
Hi,
you go.
folks.
Let me make us pretty. There you go. That's much better.
Excellent.
How
Well, good afternoon and good evening. I'm sure that there is few European watching and waiting for it as well. I have received some messages, so good evening and dobry wieczór to my friends in Poland. So hello, and England is also watching, I have been told. So, and good afternoon to folks in US.
you have a lot of fan who's watching us right now, E, because I know that. There's a lot of unfamiliar name, but thank you for watching and joining us. Black Liz, one person is a trainer, good vibe. Yes, thank you, Nee. There's so a lot of the folks who are jumping on here every single week, live streaming. You guys know how this is going to work. If you have any questions for us, please put a giant Q. If this is your first time, please let us know where you're tuning in from. So in today's purposes and your time, E, I have just a couple questions for you, and we're going to keep the conversation as casual as humanly possible. No scripting. I would love for you to introduce yourself, your amazing self, to us. What do you do? More about you on a professional career level. There's a lot of folks who's watching, but every single person, 99.9%, wants to work for Amazon, and they're very nervous. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. So first of all, once again, welcome, folks. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much, Holly, for creating this opportunity for me today as well. My full name is Ewelina. I'm a Polish born, so both of my parents were actually from Poland. I relocated to England around 17 years ago. In the meantime, I also went to Luxembourg, where I did like 2 years assignment with Amazon, with our European headquarters. And very recently, as Holly has mentioned, I relocated to Seattle, Washington. Been with Amazon, I know she said 10 plus years, it has been almost 15. I was a very fresh graduate. I was at the age of 22. So anyone can do the maths now, how old I am. And yes, what I can say that my journey was phenomenal. And I want to highlight, Holly, your achievements here. And the reason why my journey has been phenomenal, because I was very lucky to work with people like you. And having said that, I really want to take a few minutes of today's time and just highlight your professional achievements, what you have done, how we have met, how many things, great things you have done for me, not to mention the opportunity of meeting big leaders, creating this opportunity for me, introducing me to people, pitching my profile to different people, helping me internally. That was an amazing support that I have received from you throughout the years. So I remember we met in 2014. I was here in Seattle working back then with device team, Kindle team, and that's how our path crossed. And since then, again, I was one of your biggest cheerleader, and you are a phenomenal person. And I know that not many people mention that, because usually you want to do this great pitching about those candidates, but what you are doing for people and how much they can benefit, especially people who come and then we interview later on, can gain a lot from your channel, from the knowledge that you share, the depth of knowledge. It's just fantastic. So I actually went and reviewed all of your materials despite having access internally, and I'm like, this lady is amazing. And what's beautiful about you, Holly, the content is for free, right? You got this
Yes,
VIP
I'm buying her
coaching.
coffee afterwards, people. Yes, I am.
Well, you should come over. I know you now live not that far, so you should definitely visit. You like the kitchen, right? So yes, in terms of what you provide, and I really want to stress that there is a free content then, guys, where you will listen to Holly. Yes, it's not always pretty. She sometimes is very assertive when she's passing her message, but I think it's needed. Unfortunately, if you are planning to apply to the big tech companies, be prepared. It's not always pretty. You have to really prepare and don't take the backseat. And I think that that's part of the journey. And what you actually teach those people is be patient, but also do your homework. So then, if that's okay, I will start probably explaining how my journey started with Amazon, what has happened in the past 15 years, where I am now, and maybe I will disclose the next steps. Maybe not. Let's see what will happen, how this conversation will fly.
I'm kind of glad you mentioned that. It's not just Amazon, it's a lot of the top company, but specifically at Amazon, it takes a serious amount of being able to influence the decision maker, which means every single interviewer, including the recruiter. I've been in the recruiting industry for 25 years, and we chatted about this just a second ago before we jump on live, that even as a recruiter, I know if you could basically meet the bar at least 70, 80%. And I pretty much know if I were to put you through the process, are you going to make it or break it, right? A solid seasoned recruiter who's been doing it for so long can kind of figure that out. And they should be doing a very good job in prepping you. I know that because of the pandemic, a lot of the recruiting folks are very overwhelmed. We'll talk about how I can teach you to manage the process later on. But I would love to learn more about, you mentioned out of college, joining Amazon, but it's guys, let's just pause for 1 second here. It's very hard to grow at Amazon. If you can survive at Amazon, I'm not talking about 15 years. I'm just talking about the first year, because 1 year at Amazon is the equivalent for 4 years. And if you miss my my interview chat with a TPM from a former Google and Amazon, she also said she spent 4+ years at Amazon and it felt like 20 years to her. So for you, it felt like 50 years if you've been there for 15 years. What was your interview experiences like, and what was the process? If we could focus a little bit on when you first landed there out of college, because that's an area that I'm not familiar with. And what is your trajectory? How did you grow from the very beginning here to where you are right now as a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So first of all, I will say that way when I landed at Amazon, there was no process yet. So I remember I have relocated from Poland to England. I already have been working part-time jobs, and then I saw a note that, hey, recruitment from Amazon was posting jobs saying, hey, we are hiring. So I did probably a very silly move as an immigrant back then will do. I went and applied for a FC associate role. So that was like a whole day of testing when we did some numerical tests. I obviously, there was some question in English. They need to know that you could actually write in English and communicate well, which was quite funny. So I secured that role. I did. I was a picker actually when I started, and then very quickly there was few internal posting, and my brother also started at the same time with me. So he's like, "Hey, why don't you go and apply for certain roles which are more senior here in the organization?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I will be ready." And I say, "Hey, I'm 22, don't really have necessarily like a working experience apart from some part-time jobs that I have been doing at my, let's say, early 20s." So he actually submitted a CV on my behalf. And then I got this letter from HR saying, hey, we want to welcome you for the interview. It's not the managerial role. It's like a process assistant, team leader. It was tier one. I landed as a it was tier three. I landed as a tier one. Went for that interview, had two different interviews for two different departments. One of them I failed. They told me that I wasn't ready. And that the same day, they told me, oh my God, you did fantastic, phenomenal, and we want you for this particular role. So that's how it started. After a few months, they told me, hey, we are opening a new building. You will be a great fit for an area manager role. Would you mind relocating? And I was like,
That's amazing.
no. How long would it take to commute by car? And they are like, whoa, there's probably like 90 minutes. And I said, you know what, I will take this role, but I will be commuting. And I was also already doing lots of stuff on the side that I was always like hustling, doing some kind of studies or courses back then. And I'm like, okay, I will commute. So that was a 90 minutes drive every day to this facility. Over there, I have met phenomenal leaders, people who has been coaching me, mentoring me, very senior leader back then, like country managers that I remember I was struggling. We did our first Kaizen event, obviously back then. I knew very little about the continuous improvement because whatever I taught us at school and my degree as well was I studied law and public administration, so very different. Therefore, this person say, hey, I really like your passion. I really like your attention to detail. And he actually was from US doing an assignment in United Kingdom. And he say, let me send you some books. And I thought, okay, probably somebody just say something, to make me feel happy. And then few weeks later, there is this package that security is calling me saying, hey, somebody dropped off some books for you in the reception. There was a carrier and I see these great books. One of them was a goal. One of them was about the Toyota and assembling line. And there was a note, hey, good luck on your journey. I'm confident you will do well at Amazon. Again, age 23. I don't want to disclose the name of this person. I know he moved from Amazon. He's working for our competitors now. I wish him all the best because he was phenomenal as well. But things like that do adapt. So then when the warehouse, we were shutting down this type of operation because it was only open to support the peak volume. My management came saying, hey, would you feel confident to shut down the entire building, move the whole inventory for us? And can we trust you? Because they are like, we think we can trust you, but can you trust yourself? And I'm like, I was like,
that's very Amazonian, by the way.
That's very Amazonian. So for somebody to like be 23, 24 years old, I remember open my big blue eyes and I say, well, I can try. And they're like, hey, we are giving you a month. This is the station or fulfillment center where we'll be shipping all of the stuff. So I had to figure it out, all of the logistics. I had to figure out how we want to do it. How many people do I need? And I laugh at them. I look at the plan. They put a month date, and I say, I can do it within a week. And they're like, there's no way you can do it within a week. I said, well, let's see. Within a week, I'm calling them saying, hey, what do you want me next? Because I actually managed to do everything within a week. So they moved me back to this home mothership FC. That was the very first FC outside of London where I started. And then they are like, hey, listen, at this stage, there is no opening in our facilities, but you have done a phenomenal job. You have a great feedback. So would you mind go back to your previous responsibilities, which is like a team leader in the warehouse, and wait for this opportunity to come, but you will still have to go through the interview process. So I said, yeah, absolutely. Then went through this interview process, didn't feel really confident. I remember I probably haven't slept for like 2 days, because that usually takes 48 hours for us to receive the outcome of the interview. But I can tell you what I have done to prep myself. I have printed all of the leadership principles. I have taken a week off from work. Although I knew the company, I was already, I will say, fairly well equipped to prepare for this L4 interview. Did get the job. I was one of the first one who not only went and opened, but had to onboard those new folks, make friends for life, because obviously as people join and go, and we know, probably you can Google the attrition rate. So that's how it started. Then already when I was there, I believe, yes, I started working directly with the device team in Luxembourg. So one of my GMs say, hey, we will be expanding, we will be bringing new products, very innovative solution to the UK. We nominate you as a UK POC. And I'm like, whoa, this is huge. And they say, would you be able to do it on the side? Because you still have to go show up.
Right. On top of your 10 other job and responsibility, can you take this one?
And I'm like, I will try. And obviously I was very eager. So I start making those connections. And I remember I have met a phenomenal person. Her name is Makube Sabatnia. She is my mentor. She has been with Amazon back then. Somebody that my mom says is like a guardian angel, and she really is. So she was mentoring me from day one. So when they came and they say, hey, we have a job in Luxembourg, we have an opening. At the same time, I already committed to open a brand new FC outside of London in UK. So they say, hey, you have to juggle. So let's make a commitment that we can release you to Luxembourg. You can follow your dream in European headquarters, but you still have to help us to open this building, which was in Hemel Hempstead outside of London. So I did that, went there, already knew that I have this job in Luxembourg. Still very tough interview process. I met again lots of phenomenal people. You have to go and have to be assessed by the TPMs, by the product management program manager. Stressful, I wouldn't lie, even again for an internal person, because you are entering not only corporate world, but you are being thrown into the very deep water. Phenomenal experience again. But a few weeks after, I was on a plane already from London to Luxembourg. I think that Luxembourg was probably one of the most memorable journeys. So working for digital and technology, working for devices, being your own product manager, TPM, accessories, devices, sitting with teams, trying to push certain stuff to production. It was tough, but I probably have learned a lot. And now it's quite funny, because recently someone approached me from that team saying, hey, in 2014, you put certain proposal and this project is still like alive. I'm like, whoa, that's huge. And they are like, oh, we will set up a call, and they are giving me a list of people who will be attending the call. And I said, that's a lot of people. I said, in the past, it was just me doing all of those functions. And they are like, yeah, like we know that's the old days at Amazon, that we had to wear like so many hats. Maybe I will pause here, because there is still probably another 7 or 8 years. Holly, do you have any question?
I don't know if that has changed. Everything you described is exactly the reason why I stuck around for, I think, after the first 4 years, you kind of lose count. I wouldn't say 6, 7 years or so. By the way, every time you mention the A word, my Echo device in the background, you see it wanted to talk. I have to mute it. I have to press the mute button.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I wonder what the Echo wants to tell us, saying, oh my God, her accent is so funny.
I know. I love it. I'm a device person. I actually started my recruiting career hardware and then software. Hardware, like the Kindle, the Echoes, and then even the consumer. I like to, and the operation has so much to do in the background. The reason why I really am excited to have you here is that there's so many people who reach out to me via LinkedIn and said, Holly, I can't get a job. I kept on failing. I'm bombing my interview at Amazon. And I looked at the LinkedIn profile. Yes, when you reach out to me, my team and I looked at your profile, because we don't like to waste people's time. And it's really funny, because they said, and so many of them made the same comment to me, Holly, you came from tech recruiting. What do you know about operation? And I'm like, have you not read? I'm not being rude here. But I think that a lot of you are so anxious of your interview, and it's very clear that you're not ready. It's also clear that you haven't done any homework, okay? Because even if you just put, for example, the Amazon Leadership Principle on google.com, it brings you straight to the Amazon career site, where you don't have to pay for anyone for examples, right? There's articles. So many people are blogging about LPs now where you can get all of that for free, including my entire channel. I love to hear your experience because Lux, it's funny because there is a time in my career where I almost moved to Luxembourg for Kindle, and you and I would have been in the exact same team where you would actually be one of my internal stakeholder. Very close. I decided to stay back and eventually took an internal transfer to Seattle, and that's how I end up here for 8 years now. Yeah, I lived in Seattle for about 8 years. That's amazing. Oh, Sylvia, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, what is Amazon's OpsTech? OpsTech is a bit different from the overall operation, correct? I know you talked a bit about starting your career as an area manager. Um, Let me just focus on area manager for one quick second first. Let me take back what I just asked you because there are also content creator. I don't know if you guys notice, if you put area manager at Amazon on YouTube, there's a lot of YouTuber now. Yeah, a lot, right? Which is cool because you get to learn and be exposed. But here's the biggest tip I need to give everyone, okay? Just hear me out. Just bear with me for 30 seconds. There's a lot of negative and then a lot of positive. Note that if someone had left an organization, their feedback could be there's a lot of unconscious biases, right? For example, there's a lot of people management who come into my YouTube channel and make comment that is a very toxic environment. Do not ever work for Amazon as a manager. I was a manager for a long time. E is still a manager. She's been there for 15 years. So it really depends on each an individual's experiences. So if you look at those individual, the length of time they have been there, the one challenge I have, I'm not defending Amazon at all. By the way, they're not sponsoring me. You know this is raw and authentic. What did you do as an employee if you are unhappy? If you feel like you're overworked, maybe that is not the right team for you. Maybe that's not the right role for you. Did you take the effort to look around to see maybe you can transfer to a different organization, right? Or yet leave the company. So I think that there's a lot of folks who are it's not just an Amazon thing. I work for Microsoft. I work for Apple. I work for Google. I've also worked for Meta Oculus recently. Okay, you can have the same thing with all the company as well. There you have it. I just have to let it out. Sorry, I have to put it out there because a lot of people say, Holly, don't interview. I don't know why you're trying to provide content and help people get a job at Amazon. I'm providing content because I'm listening to the majority of the people in the world. Why? Because Amazon is the only employer that has the most job opening, tech and non-tech, and that's why I'm doing it. I feel like as a creator sometime, you're doomed if you do. You're doomed if you don't. And we're doing this for free, by the way. YouTube is not exactly paying us either for doing all of that. And I feel like when you guys are watching content, I encourage everyone to ask intelligent question that is not, give me a quick interview tip. There's no such thing as quick. I've had my friends in the career coach community as well that says, Holly, what? You have a 90-day coaching program to help people land a job with FAANG. They don't need 90 days. They can get in and get out in a week or one session. Not at Amazon and not at Google as well, right? So it's really depending on your background and what you need. But you've heard what E just mentioned, even for someone who is an internal, and I get a lot of internal Amazonian coming to me even as a client as well. There's an endorsement that's coming out this Friday of a former bar raiser. Okay, it's coming out on Friday. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, make sure that we do. Okay, with that said, how did you transition between ops and going to OpsTech? What is that? If you can share some knowledge on that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that the critical part of that whole transition was definitely the experience from Kindle. So I was exposed to the hardware and software integration, and I think lots of questions that was asked during my interview for the OpsTech IT role was around that particular experience. And we had, I will say, quite tough cases. So when I was in Luxembourg, obviously working with this team that was in San Francisco, that was in Seattle. So we had some TPM in Seattle. We had majority of my stakeholders in San Fran. So I had to go there, learn their jobs, understand, because I was bringing very similar products or framework to European network. Therefore, I had lots of stories to tell, and I'm also a storyteller. You probably can tell after the 30 minutes of this interview that I love
You dive
creating
very
those.
deep. I get that. I can you all sense her leadership principle in her right here? It's 100%, by the way. That right there is an Amazonian. This is exactly what Amazon looks for. No excuses. Do the work. Figure it out. Dive very deep, and wear a lot of hats with very little to zero instruction. Zero. So that's trying to tell a lot of you guys who's watching. I love all of my member. If you're coming in here asking me, can you give me an answer to tell me about yourself? You should try giving me an answer how you would answer it, and then I'm more than happy to correct it for you. Okay, so I'm preparing you for those big tech companies, and they don't like it if you go to them, ask for how, rather than going to them and say, hey, by the way, I figured this out, what do you think? Okay, go ahead.
No, absolutely. So how the transition did look like. So I was very fortunate that I was already mentored by a few people, either directly or indirectly. Some of the people will say, "Hey, we will mentor you. I don't really want to make it public because I will not be able to commit to time or a certain framework, but I still see your passion. I know what you want to go." And I was always very clear in my head what's my objective. And I think people was always very impressed what she want to do, who she want to become, what she is missing. And I think that the part that people really like about me is the self-awareness. So if I don't know something, I will raise my hand and say, "Hey, could you just educate me in this particular area?" And again, there is nothing wrong with sometimes showing your weaknesses. uh, I will call it that I was creating my own lag, but with the support of the people who has mentored me, who gave me like a hand when I really needed it. And also there was lots of like a tough conversation saying, "Hey, I asked you to do this and you haven't done it." Like my biggest weaknesses and something that I was always very afraid is like, "Hey, I speak with a very, I would say, I'm laughing, Russian accent, because people quite often when I speak English will come and speak to me talk to me in Russian, and I'm like, "No, I'm not Russian. I'm sorry. Like I know a few words, but I cannot speak Russian." And so something like it was always on the back of my head saying, "Hey, English is my third language." You say this is your fourth language. For me, it was third because I learned obviously Polish at primary school. Then in high school, German was dominating when I was also learning English. And then I learned that in England, obviously the English that they teach us at school is very different. And probably anyone who is relocating or travel around the world can tell the same thing. So what's happened effectively, I went for this interview that I was recommended, but I was recommended for the TPA role. So technical program manager, there was this big program that we were planning to bring to the organization. And then the bar raiser, I remember L7 bar raiser, very nice lady
Did the
from
bar racer told
Tennessee.
you that was the bar racer?
So the bar raiser, no, I figured it out later because she actually became my manager along the way, but I didn't know she was a bar raiser. So she called me, and after 30 minutes of the conversation, I remember it was out of blue because the recruitment team messed up the time zone. So they thought that I am actually based in the US. They didn't know that I'm in the UK. So out of blue, like I'm driving on the motorway and I get this phone call, and she introduced herself. Obviously, I knew who she was because she was a very well-known person for OpsTech IT. And she said, "Hey, we are scheduled for 30 minutes chat." And I'm like, "Oh my God, give me 5 minutes. Let me park my car like in the middle of like a motorway. It was like a petrol station." So I park my car and then we are talking and say, "Listen, my recommendation to the director will be that I want to put you through OpsTech IT, hardware and software integration, but I want you to manage the whole European operation." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's huge." But I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because it's like, "No, we will still do the panel. Obviously, I will make my recommendation to the director." The director, obviously, shut up to the big box. She's a phenomenal person. She recently left for Oracle. I had a chat with her and I said, "Debbie, I don't know if I'm ready." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're more than ready, and we will help you. We will get you there." So all of the bosses are sitting in Tennessee or Seattle. I believe Debbie was relocating back then from Seattle to Tennessee. And I'm like, "You want me to manage 5 marketplaces in the space or environment that I got so little?" And they're like, "Listen, we got fantastic tech engineers, we got fantastic IT managers, but what they are missing is probably, I would say, your mindset or your hunger to do well, to do better." So we had lots of talks. We went back and forth. Then I received a very good endorsement from the gentleman called Steven, who also I want to say hello to Steven if they will be watching. I think that they will be watching. That he say, I think that this is a fantastic opportunity for you. You should definitely take it. So within a few weeks, we managed to close the deal. And that's when the phenomenal journey has started for me at Amazon. I was introduced to fantastic leaders that they have really care about my personal development. They already assigned few professional like L7 and L above to help me develop quickly the skill set that I was missing. I was also able to handpick my team, and also there were a few people who reached out to me directly and say, hey, we have heard so many good feedback about you. We really want to join in your team. So it took us a while because I always want to ensure that I'm giving people everything what they deserve in their professional journey, that I'm making them a better people as well. And I can really add to their development. So I prefer to have a chat so there is no surprises along the way. I also always had like a very high bar and people say, hey, she's very direct, she's very assertive, which is true to some extent, but I'm saying some extent, I do have a nice side as well. But that's how it started. So I ended up managing team of 50 people, very senior IT manager, engineers, technician. The team was based in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, United Kingdom. Throughout that time, we have been assembling like for our internal operation, all of the type of IT infrastructure. So we have been assembling and also looking at the software and hardware and all of these vulnerabilities. So this type of infrastructure at this stage is only for internal use. So that's something that Amazon does. And we tend to innovate internally a lot. It's very steep deep learning, but I will say that if you have right people around you and you're not afraid to take a very strong feedback, you will probably do well. But you have to be prepared that some of the feedback wouldn't be pretty. Some of the feedback will be something that will take you days to digest. But be very open.
I love how you say that some of the feedback will take you days to digest. It is. You know, I wasn't joking, but I do run my VIP coaching cohort. I have weekly mock interviewed for my members. I call members clients, and I would say to them, oftentimes I would ask, "Do you think I'm too much for you?" And a lot of them says no. I said, "Why do you think I'm not too much for you?" Because I'm very direct. And they said, "Holly, the reason why we work with you because you're bossy." That's their word to me, describing me. You're very direct. And I say, good, excellent. Because if you want to work for Amazon, that's exactly what it is. And I tell them true story. I tell them that, I came up with it was the 60-second elevated pitch as my very first YouTube video. Now it's 30 to 45 second. And then everyone started to talk about 45-second now, by the way, on YouTube. That I came up with that because I have been told to Holly, get out of my office by VP level. No name. I'm not going to tell you which org. You'll know exactly who they are. They're still there. I would say in almost every single org I've worked at Amazon, and I've got similar thing even at other FAANG company as well. They don't have time. If you're in any kind of meeting, you've got 1 minute before you lose their attention. So when you're interviewing, there's no difference. So one may ask, Holly, I've done so much. How can I answer a question in less than a minute? You can, because all of them have. And I talk a lot about a lot of that. That is why earlier on, I talk about the STAR method template. It's literally putting down and trying to capture all the important achievement, not every single movement, right? Like you mentioned that you were responsible for 5 marketplace. Man, that is huge. That's huge, right? I guarantee you, if I were to say, tell me about how you're able to build and manage the 5 marketplace to launch, you remember everything that you've done because you've done it. So a lot of the folks, and as you're talking, I'm glimmering through the live chat. There's a lot of different questions here. When you're preparing for your interview, you have to think about when you're walking in there, you're asking questions when you already know the answer, right? That is, well, I have 15 story. I don't know if they're relevant. Then why are you doing it? Because it's not just Amazon that we're trying to give you these tips here. an employer documents every single history interaction they ever have with you. Like E, for you, you've been there for 15 years. I guarantee every single one your initial, you just share an email that that I reach out to you. It's still that you see that. You see what I'm talking about? It's always going to be in their system, right? Apparently, the time that I was recruiting, which is nearly 10 years ago, is still there. It's always going to be captured one form or another. So you got to ask yourself, how badly do you want to work at Amazon? You've heard me, you've heard all the guests I brought on my YouTube channel. We have one thing in common, that is ownership and bias for action. If you listen to our tone, there's no excuses. We get things done. Even though we don't have confidence in ourselves, we're going to push ourselves to fall down, hit our head, bruise, and then we'll just get up and keep on going and learn from it as we're going through the process. So a lot of people talk about, Holly, what is the culture fit at Amazon? Why did you leave? By the way, if you really want to know why I left, that's next week. I'll share more into that, because there's always a reason that people meaning employers, are looking for a specific talent. I highly doubt that Amazon has gone easier from nearly 10 years ago. And I too, when I started with the Kindle organization, I loved it. I was the recruiter. I was the HR generalist. I don't even know how to do that. By the way, recruiting and HR are not the same position. I was the immigration PM. I know nothing about immigration. I leveraged the headquarter team to teach me how. I built a team from, what was it from Singapore, a remote site for Kindle from scratch, because they couldn't relocate due to visa issue, and I had no clue what I was doing. So going through all of that, if you are going to an Amazon interview specifically, that is the only employer that will dive so deep where they will call BS if you don't have it. I'm sorry. I want to apologize upfront. That is as raw as I can give you. And if you pay attention to everything that Eve had just shared about her background, you've heard that's what it takes to be at the same company for 15 years and getting promoted multiple times and managing not just, when people think about marketplace, we're talking about literally 5 different companies into one, all at the same time. What?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what really kept you around for, I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. What kept you around for so long? That's a long time.
So I think that the goals has changed a little bit. So if we are looking at the personal and professional sides, you have to revamp your goals. You cannot be in the same company and be attached to something that happened 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And I think that that's the beauty of Amazon, that once you express interest and people know what you are bringing to the table, or people know exactly what they can offer to you. Because at this stage, I think that lots of even the directors or people like hiring manager who I have been interacted in the past few years with, they are saying to me, we want to keep you busy, we want to keep you engaged, and we want to get you a scope that you will like. And I think that that's important, that people recognize that if you want to keep those folks who has been in the company, let's say even 2+ years, you have to do something for them. They don't want to really leave whatever they have done in the past. They have done it. They can close this chapter. As you say, they can leave Amazon. They can do things on the side. For me, I was fortunate that I was always in a position that I had the opportunity to choose the department that I want to be. This good feedback was always flying around. And often I will have 3 to 4 jobs presented in front of me, and I will say, hey, the scope of those roles is very different. So where are you at this stage of your career, and what do you want to really focus on? Do you want to be individual contributor? Do you want to be a manager? And then you have to go and take advices from the board of the directors. So I'm calling my friends, people like you, the board of the directors that I have, and I can reach out and I'm asking, hey, am I really making the right move here? And they will tell me, hey, this is not your forte. This is not your superpower. However, if you ever, let's say, decided to leave, or if you want to become X, Y, and Z in an organization, I think this skill set will be required because it will challenge you. It will allow you to get out of the comfort zone. And often when I went back to my comfort zones, or even went back to operation, opened a very first Amazon Robotic FC outside of US, which was in Europe, outside of London as well, usually the rationale behind was because, like, hey, I'm entering now business school, I want to do my master program, so what else can I do to slow down a little bit, be in an environment, and this is not a slowdown, trust me, whoever
What's
experienced
slowing down at
operation
Amazon?
yeah, the slowing down at Amazon, that you are entering an environment that you potentially know or you think that you know, and you have a very structured time of when are you entering the building and leaving the building. So that's mean that you probably can choose the time of your working hours, still do your full-time jobs, but then you can study on a side. So that's usually when I went to my, I would say, comfort zone, was purely selfish decision that I say, hey, I really need to upgrade my skill set. I really need to do something extra. If I'm already spending X amount of money on a side just to get this qualification or just to get this degree, I really want to max out on this investment. So that usually was the slowdown or me withdrawing myself when people were like, oh my God, you were like in States at the same time, because they sent us to Florida, they sent us to New York to learn about the systems which we didn't have in Europe back then, and you came back. And everybody remember, like, they still have this joke when I was just cuddling my books for my master programs, because I knew I would be away from home for like 4 weeks, and people were like taking clothes. So I had to give up. I didn't take my like a warm jacket with me because I got so many books, and there was literally like no space, and no one believed me. So 3 weeks in Florida or 4 weeks, then outside of New York, I believe they sent us to like a facility in New Jersey. But that's the things that you remember, and everybody was like so supportive. There were people who already graduated from like a top MBA schools, and they were trying to give me some tips, and everybody was like putting protective arm and saying, hey, I know we also came here to blend with people, knew those teams, because that was the way to get to know each other. But they say, hey, you excluded because we know that you are doing these huge things on the side that's really, you have been talking for a while. And yeah, people understand that. I had the days at Amazon where I was pulling my hair out, and I'm like, hey, if I make the right decision, am I in the right place?
I'm in the
And
right
then I
place.
had and then there is this gentleman who I will never forget. His name is Matt. He went to Africa just for 1 year, and he worked with people who are very unfortunate in life. And he just gave me a story, and he said, if you think that your problem is a big problem, think about those people who really don't have much in life, and they
Oh,
still
that's really sweet.
make the best out of it. And then trust me, like this example that was in 2016 stuck in my head. So every time when I had when I was hitting a wall or had a really bad day, I had this example, and that was, I believe, here in Florida when we were discussing this whole Amazon robotic concept. So again, they are people who wish you well, want you to do well, but there is as well a lot of self-learning. And I think I will be unfair to your community if I will be sitting here and it's like an easy ride. It's an easy ride. You have to take this feedback on board. You have to sometimes adjust the way how you operate. But if you're passionate, if you are data driven, if you got this customer obsession in your DNA, you will always do well. And I have never ever seen an Amazonian who perform exceptionally well and let's say left Amazon and they had to downgrade. There was never a case. Like, I know phenomenal people who at some stage decided, hey, I really want to grow my scope. It will probably take me a little bit more at Amazon, but if I will go outside, I can get this SVP role for still top company, or I can sit on a board. And that's the people I have in my environment that I always look up to them. I always see them as people out of my league. And again, a month ago, I was in New York for work and then in Boston. And then my friend is texting me. She's also my mentor, as I mentioned, saying, hey, open Financial Times page, whatever. And I'm like, okay, why does she want to open the Financial Times on this page? And then I'm like, oh my God, she just had been appointed to the board. And I'm like calling everybody that I know. Can you imagine? This is the person we work in Kindle team, and she's now sitting on a board for one of the top UK company. Again, I can go on and on. I know you have to stop at some point, but that's the opportunity that Amazon gives you. And even if you do not want to stay in the company, let's say forever, if you don't want to be a one-trick pony like me, my brother had this joke that I'm like just one-trick pony because I was holding so tight to Amazon for so many years. So we do have this very good relationship that, well, I will be slugging him offline anyway.
That's why when I hear a lot of negative remark about the Amazon work culture, and I'm like, all the other companies operate the same way. They may not be what you did, or you're still doing it. I consider Amazon as I know it sounds really cheesy, literally saving the world, right? Even during my time there, I had offers to go back to Google. I've had really, like, my compensation was crazy. I didn't leave. It took me a really long time to leave Amazon was because everything you described, like the passion of being able, like specific example was being able to travel and do recruiting event like Santiago. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Santiago or South America in general. That is probably one of the property part of Europe. And and God, I don't even want to mention how much they make in an annual salary. Okay. And being able to give them a job offer from the biggest company in the world and relocate them to give them an opportunity to be in the US. That's why. That's why I did it. So if you were to ask, well, how many hours did you work in those recruiting event? Well, me and everyone else on the trip, it's about 20 hours a day, literally, because we were interviewing 30 people. And then we have to debrief them on the same day. And I got to work on their offer when we're done with that. But what is so rewarding, and you get to know people outside of just in your space, and you get to learn a different culture and market in how to expand, helping businesses like companies like Amazon look for better talent, and not just in the local U.S. area. Which is why a lot of the folks on here, and I'm looking at some of the chat questions. Many of you are interviewing at level 6. That's what you got to do. Okay. Even at a level 6, even at a level 5, you're starting to do a lot of the global expansion. More, there's really no such thing as entry level at Amazon. I felt I was never hired as a level 5. I was hired as a level 6. But even right off the bat, I was giving everything, and you just got to take with it, build it from ground up, and just kind of execute and run with it. And then eventually you will build the confidence and meet people. Like you've said, you have a couple great mentors on the side. I think it has so much to do with your leadership in your team. It's not about the company you work for, just that. It's also great managers along the way and great mentorship as well. I have great mentor as well during the time that I was there. So for all of you guys who's watching, I know not everyone is my YouTube member. I don't know why you haven't subscribed to my channel yet. Make sure you do that so you don't miss these type of live stream every single week. Okay. I have I wanted to showcase. Let me remove our name here really quick. Sylvia. By the way, there's also Amazonian who's in the house watching right now. If you want a mentor, I'm just speaking for E. Feel free to connect with her. If you are an Amazonian, please be very mindful. I know that a lot of you guys are going to try to connect with her. Be very, very mindful with your message. Okay. Sylvia says, I love this. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. What did I do? Oh, come on, Holly.
I'm on my phone, so I don't see the messages. So
Oh, you don't see
if
the
there is
messages?
anything that you want to,
Oh, there you
no.
go. There you go. Sylvia says, for Amazon, getting a job at Amazon is like getting ready for an Ironman, not a half marathon. Excellent. Thank you, Sylvia. Yes. Yes. So for every single person who have anything else to say to me, Holly, I don't need to prep for 1 month, 3 months to get a job there, even though I failed my interview 6 times. Yes, you do. You do, because it takes a lot to communicate at a way where people like E, who's a hiring leader, knows that you have the ownership to figure it out on your own and able to take risk. Okay. Excellent. Do you have time to answer some Q&A with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. This is so much fun. I love live. I used to do 2 live stream a week and every Friday morning for all of the Mia folks. But unfortunately, because of COVID and daycare being shut down, I can only handle 1 live stream now, and which is this one. Suvik, hello, Suvik. Welcome for being a new member. Rawindar, hello. How are you? Ashish, good to see you, sir. Yulia says, would you go? Oh, I think this is direct to you. Let me move this here. Would you go for a candidate who tells you that they just accepted an offer from another company that would consider yours because they like your company more?
So that's a great question. And I will say if recruitment already put an effort in prepping this person and getting them to the stage that they are already entering, let's say, phone screen or full interview panel. And I also have made a time to interview those people because we are doing this on the side as well. We have our day-to-day job. We are being trained and prepped to interview people. We have to then shadow. There is like a very well-designed program that obviously I cannot disclose too many details, but I can tell you that we have to spend a lot of time to get ready. And because of that, if I see a great candidate in front of me and I know that they will do phenomenal in this space, and often happen, like I, despite whatever you guys are telling us, recruitment and HR, do not give them the feeling, that they are probably the best, but I will always compliment people and say, hey, I'm really impressed what you have done, or how you have built your example, how you presented your example. So I know I'm spinning here, but I will say, hey, absolutely, why not?
I would too. I mean, the right talent. Oh, my audio is going up. The right talent is very hard to find. Sometimes, even though if you have accepted offer number one, you don't know what you don't know, right? And this is a very common questions for my clients as well, where they're interviewing with a lot of company and they're just waiting for Amazon, because Amazon are going through so many offer approval process, just like a lot of the big tech companies. And then they say, Holly, oh my God, I just told company number one that I'm ready to accept the offer. And then Amazon came up and I'm just so excited for this team. What should I do? And I would say, well, I would highly advise for you to follow your heart. What is it that you want to do? Why do you want to work for Amazon, right? Why do you, right? And the second thing is, a lot of people says, well, this company pays me a lot more than Amazon. Again, why do you want to work for Amazon? Just like, why do you want to work for the other company, right? If you're joining an employer just for the money, well, then you pretty much got the answer. Amazon, go check out my Why Amazon video, and also the culture at Amazon video. It is a place where, by the way, Eve, congratulations on your equity. You've been there for a very long time. Wink, wink. Congratulations, girl. I know how that's going down, right? If you wanted to be rich right now and you're comparing numbers at like an Amazon, because it is a lot of hard work, Amazon's offer may be a little bit lower than, let's just say, like a Google or Facebook, because those are the two highest paying employer. But if you're looking at your scope, you wanted to innovate, like a lot of the reason that everyone comes to me for, like me, for an example, then it's not a good place for you, right? But however, if you stay at Amazon for 4 years, fully vested, and 4 years like the Google or the Facebook, this right here this is Amazon, could be all the way up here. I think I spoke my piece right now. I cannot give you advice on what you should do for money. It's also what you're looking for, right? I tell you this though, professional, having worked with mainly majority of the FAANG companies, I'm telling you this too, E. The day you decide to leave Amazon, it's really hard. Don't bother leaving. You will get bored out of your insane mind. You probably end up quitting before you start. It's not going to work. It won't work.
Yes. So just to support that question that we had, so usually I wake up and I read Harvard Business Review. So that's my go-to magazine. They are not sponsoring us, but adapting to digital disruption is actually a very good article in the latest. This is the January, February edition. When they say, can the big digital company be disrupted? And then when they are unpacked, they are telling you probably what you want to get out of this big company. So if your passion is to work on an engine search, you probably don't want to work for Amazon, because we got very little at this stage to offer to you, and you know which company you want to target. But if you have a passion for a few other stuff that we probably are doing extremely well, and I don't want to say that one team is better than another. I don't want a phone call after this call saying, this is that my team is not the best. I said, no, I didn't, which happens sometimes. I learned my lesson. But be very open what you want to do, because you are deciding how your life will look like going forward, what skill set you will get, and what you can get out of this role, right? If I have a passion, I don't know, to work on a fitness or application, maybe I will be applying to Apple, because they are actually very heavily investing in Apple Watch, in all of this new fitness application. So again, be very clear in your head. And I think it was Simon Sinek who said that if you clear on why, the how is easy, and that's always should be your rationale behind of doing things, in my opinion. So there is lots of phenomenal companies out there. Our job today is not to say, hey, because it works for me, it will work for you, but be very clear what each role can offer, and also what you will bring to the table. Would it actually help you grow quickly, and are you ready for a challenge? Because it's not always easy.
Yep. No. Yeah, I agree. Let me see. Remove our name. I know. Can you tell how finicky I am? By the way, how we are, and you guys heard everything in her entire background, how she started her journey at Amazon, and even with me, at first I thought that Amazon made me the way I am, very straightforward, very transparent, and just wanting to solve problem very quickly. And then I figured, no, Amazon didn't make me this way. This is just who I am. So I think for a lot of you guys, Amazon or like the Google of the world, you have to really figure out what is the culture for you. If you're someone who's very antsy like me, I run and operate my own business, but I worked until 5 o'clock in the morning most days, and I'm having so much fun. I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm not even like, I'm not stressed out. Look, see, I love what I do. Even when I was at Amazon, I worked a lot of hours, but no one told me to. In fact, my most recent manager, I was pregnant at the time, just a little bit personal touch there. He told me to go home. And in fact, he asked me, why am I in the office? Because I was supposed to be on mat leave. And I said, my team missed me and I missed them. You know, my business, my stakeholder from the Alexa devices team, I feel like I want to connect with them. I care about the people I work with. I know they're not going to fall apart without me, but I felt like I'm so invested, and this is my baby. Basically, my work was my world, and I'm really into it. That's how much passion I have. So for all of you guys, I'm not saying married to your job, but I love it. I love what I did that much. And now I love what I do here. My YouTube channel, by the way, guys, YouTube channel. By providing content and the idea that people are going to be single parents or head of household who doesn't get paid that much, or worse, affected by the pandemic, worse, for nearly 2 years now, and able to get a job like Amazon. There's over 4,000 of them. That's what really makes me jazz. And that's why we are spending time right now to provide free content to people, because it really does help them. That, my friend, is better than winning the lottery. Not that I've ever won the lottery to know what it feels like, but yes. Black Liz. Hello, Black Liz. Black Liz says, I hope all is well. I have my loop interview scheduled for next week. 2-part questions. I know who my interviews are. Should I customize my response to their area? For example, one person is a trainer. From my perspective, I think it's smart, but don't overwork yourself. At the end of the day, these interviewer cares if you are smart enough and have relevant experience in delivering results. Just answer the question. Okay? If you don't come from a training background, don't waste your time in trying to figure out where you put things together to train. Just focus on the actual questions on how you're able to build something, scale it, and who did you impact? What was your business impact? Do you have something different to add, E?
No, I agree with you fully. And I think that I have seen a lot of people doing research on me ahead of the interview. So obviously I didn't know who they are,
Research
but
on
then,
you.
when they come and say, oh, you say that you have a
Oh my
passion for
God, it's
X,
funny.
Y, and Z, or somebody even went and connected with someone who apparently we were friends in common on social media. And then they were trying to talk about the sports and what I do outside of work. And it's quite funny because
They don't
actually
like
this
that.
person, I don't like that. Like, I will say that, this is a little bit too far. So, but in general, what I'm saying that we are trained to really ensure that the answer add up. And also we have to be exposed to certain environment to judge if the person will be able to succeed in this particular environment, because effectively we want to ensure that we are bringing candidate who will be able to succeed, but we can also make him a better person, better leader, or individual contributor. So I fully agree with you. Focus more on those leadership principles. I think all of the answers are already there on your channel. I will say to this person who asked this question, and then do not really focus on who the people are.
Yeah,
Doesn't
be
really
be
matter that
you, be
much. Yeah,
authentic.
be
At the
you.
end of the day, you want the right employer to appreciate the knowledge you're bringing on the table as well, and don't try too hard. A lot of my members will come to me and say, Holly, can I start my answer by saying that I was able to dive deep to take ownership in delivering? I'm like, don't repeat every single leadership principle. That's trying too hard. This is what I mean by there's a way to phrase things where you're very natural at it. They wanted you to learn more about your background, not you rephrasing the core value. Okay, that's very different. So the bottom line is don't try too hard. Okay. Suvik. Hey, Suvik. Suvik says, oh, Apple question. I get super excited. Every 1 out of 100 questions is non-Amazon related. 1 out of
Good,
100. You
good.
guys make me the Amazon career coach, by the way. I never gave myself that title. I, I never gave myself that. Okay. I had a final loop with Apple on the 14th. Still no word from the recruiter, even after I reach out on the outcome. Have heard Apple is notorious recruiter delay. Share some insight. Well, I'm not going to badmouth any employer. What I can tell you is, hint, hint, it's depending on the recruiter. You just mentioned and you share my message with you, even like from almost 10 years ago. I'm on top of things. I have my priority list is everyone that's in the process. I know I get back to them at least every 2 business days. In fact, I'm so passionate in that I help Amazon put the 2 and 5 promise together. Is it still around? The 2 and 5 promise? The 2 and 5
Yes.
promise, every 2 business days, the recruiter is supposed to get back to you. After you're on site within 5 business days, they should have feedback for you. Every single employer, FAANG
They
or
are
non-FAANG.
behind, sorry for interrupting, they are behind our back. Try to not to
Yeah.
meet the promise or not enter your feedback, and you will get like emails, and they are not afraid to actually go to your dialect manager and say, hey,
Yep.
what's going on, right? You may have one bad day, right? Okay, it was a very busy day. We know how it is. Sometimes you really have problems to solve, but they will expect you that, hey, let's hold ourselves to the very high bar,
Yep.
because if we will discourage these people and that at the beginning of their journey, would they even have a trust in us to accept this offer, right? So you want to provide the best experience ever.
I would say it depends on the recruiter. I have a lot of recruiter friends who are ex-Googler and they've been there for 15 years at Apple and they're amazing. Like I put my reputation on the line for them and they, you think I'm fast, they move really quick. So I think it's really depending on the person. I would, good or bad, I would follow up with your recruiter and make sure you do that at least once a week. Hey, by the way, recruiters, I know there's a lot of you who are watching right now. If you're not, I know for a fact you're watching because every time I live stream, there's a massive amount of recruiters linked in with me. Okay. You hear what I'm saying? You got to get back to your candidate. Okay.
Hey,
2 business
can I
days
just
top.
can I just say something to this person who went for Apple? Call us. We are hiring.
Yes. Call Amazon. Amazon is hiring right here. There's a hiring manager right in front of you. All right. Even at Amazon and in any company that I've ever worked at, the full life cycle from the moment you and I are connected, I don't care where, email, LinkedIn, whatever it is, within 2 weeks, I have an offer in your hand. 2 weeks. That's how quickly the Amazon environment at least used to work. Again, it has a lot to do with who's running the recruiting team, right? And how obsessed they are. And you can kind of tell if someone love what they do or they're doing just, I hate to say this word, for the paycheck. There's a difference when the passion is not there.
Yeah, and I can just pause you here because I don't really want to highlight the passion that you had. I was internal person, and you knew that you wouldn't gain anything with me moving or getting promoted or getting a different job. You still were able to connect me with variety of people. I remember I wasn't even able to leave your building here in Seattle because I was just here for like a few days. You already have booked me in for like interviews, chat, coffee with very high profile people. I remember back then, which I felt like so intimidated by those personalities who are now like SVPs. And what I want to say that you have a passion for developing people, passion for coaching, and you have a tremendous experience. And I think that really stands out. And again, people who don't value that and still want to go and spend money somewhere else, knowing that they have a free content here, guys, allocate that money, go and buy Peloton stock. By the way, any news on Peloton? What is happening with Peloton? Who is acquired the business?
No, not really. But I just know that Amazon is it's I don't know what it is. Amazon has always been a premier brand. It's funny because I have friends, a lot of the YouTuber that you see that are career strategists and coaches, we all know each other and we're all friends and we all talk about, oh, you talk about Google, I talk about Amazon, who do you talk about? And you talk about resume, you talk about LinkedIn. And then we actually do have a group where we communicate with each other, like who's hot, who's not, what's going on, who's going to get acquired, so on and so forth. But it's funny, if you go to a Google guy and the Google guy will say Google is a premier company. If you go to another person, that is a premier company. I think Amazon is a premier company. I'm not saying that. Like I said, they are not sponsoring me. Because if you look at everything that's going around in the world, right? And I used to be so excited to the all hands because when Jeff used to be a CEO, I look forward, even though I have always been in the same building as Jeff. I just never really met the guy. I swear he has a private elevator somewhere because there were times that my team and I try to stalk him and nothing. We don't see him. We're literally sitting in the was it day? Yeah, the day one, the black building next to the Spear. Yeah,
I saw him twice. And
oh,
I
you
have
did?
actually the very,
Twice in 15 years?
twice in 15 years, but here in Seattle, obviously. So
Yeah,
that was
he's in Seattle a lot. Yep. It was really funny. I want to talk about Jeff's story for a little bit. The highlight of my career was at Kindle 12 years ago. It was a summer day, a beautiful summer day. Ironically, there's a fire drill, like last minute fire drill, and we're all like, "Wait, what's going on? It's 3 p.m. and there's a fire drill." We walk out. Ironically, there's ice cream truck, like the ice cream cart around. Like, huh? Is someone here? Oh, why is it a party going on? Like everyone is surrounding in the spot, and there's a hole in the middle, right? I don't know where everyone's like, look, that's Jeff Bezos. That's his head. I'm like, where? So I managed to get a selfie in the back of his head. That's the only photo I have of him. So the reason why I'm sharing that story is inspiration, right? You guys, at the end of the day, just have to really work on what inspire you. I know it sounds very cheesy, but I have been doing this for over 2 decades now, and you can feel I still have a lot of passion, a lot. And the only reason why I stepped foot away, mainly one of my primary reason, was because I thought I was just gonna retire in recruiting altogether and be a mom. That's really the main reason why. And let's be honest, my prince is my boss. And for all of you who have followed me for a while, he's not home right now. If he is, he would be taking over this microphone. Okay?
He's such a cutie. Like I do recall him from last week. Or 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago
for a while he
Shelly.
was there a lot. Even like 2020, my VIP sales page, landing page, is a video called "Tell Me About Yourself." I didn't know he was in the video, but during that time, I had to homeschool him for the entire year, and it was really bad. I had to take my phone, I had to make coffee, I have to put him aside, and there's Easter eggs on my face, but my channel blew up because of that. I That's not even the intention, but hey, whatever works. Blacklist says, thank you for providing all your insight. Excited to hear your experience from the community member. Sish, man with a lot of questions. Sish, what are you waiting on? Why are we not working together yet at the VIP coaching? Time is in essence, my friend, okay? If you've ever had a failed interview before, going back in there to re-interview again, a re-interview for a higher technical position is not going to do justice for you, okay? I remember our message very well. It's in my head. First time on live, need your feedback, how to answer, tell me about yourself question. It's very simple. By the way, if you guys have questions for me, all of you guys are paid YouTube community member. You can do that by clicking the join. I don't give you an answer because I don't know your background, your intent, what you have done. But here's a quick tip. Go look at my 60-second elevator pitch because it tells you exactly how to do it. And there's a free template for you to follow. Let me repeat. There's a free template, okay? Who are you? Who have you helped? And why should the employer hire you? Okay? By the way, can you give me a 3-sentence of tell me about yourself? Yeah, yes.
Is that for me question? I'm
sorry. Yes, for you, E.
Okay, so
you like how I put her in the dust for you?
Oh
you
my God. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you for throwing me under the bus. Question, tell me about yourself. So again, depending on the company that where are you interviewing for, and again, what type of role it is. If I will be interviewing for a very senior role, probably I wouldn't be mentioning my junior examples. Where I was very junior, I will then say and structure it that, hey, I have performed variety of roles, and this variety of roles including digital and technology, information technology, or operation, or I have led large teams, hundreds of employees, and I did X, Y, and Z. But again, tailor your answer towards the question. If you are applying for the individual contributor role, just be prepared to give some specific examples that will make you stand out as an individual contributor. So again, depending on the company, seniority of the role, because like I know that we have folks who are very senior directors and are attending your VIP coaching. There was a gentleman, I believe, from Google who left this beautiful message on your LinkedIn, right? He went for like a top-notch
Oh
role.
yeah, Mark.
But
We have a lot of Mark here. We both know many, many Mark.
yeah, or you got people probably like me who are in these mid-senior roles that are still building their profile. So again, be very mindful, look at the job specs and what will actually help. So use this opportunity wisely. Don't talk about your dogs probably.
Yeah.
It's important as well. I love dogs.
You remember, this is, before the pandemic, and I do a lot of research. I read a lot of research, right? I like this to be a factual YouTube channel and not just talk about things behind my back, behind my butt would be the appropriate term. In 2000 and 2017, 18, and 19, our attention spam is at about 10.25%. Since 2020, it was at 8.75. In 2021, our human attention span is 8.0 second. Okay. So when you're giving any kind of answer, within the first 10 seconds, if they don't like what's coming out of you, you're going to lose the interviewer. Okay. And that's a big part of what I teach. I think if I have to brand myself, it would be helping you deliver your message. For example, I can't even talk about recruiting right now or interview training for any employer because I don't have any interest in working for anyone else at this stage of my career. But if I were to say, tell me about yourself, I would simply just say, I'm a certified coach who have worked for 90% of the FAANG company and have actually taught interview training globally with companies such as Amazon. In 2022, I was able to help over 4,000 professional land job offer, specifically at Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Apple. In my private coaching or a VIP premium coaching service, I was able to put a couple hundred professional into the Amazon environment. Cut. That is it. So when you're talking about tell me about yourself, what do you want people to remember you by? What is your call to action? Your call to action is the last thing before you cut it off. Knowing when to stop is another thing because a lot of you guys, when you answer interview gone wrong, you don't know when to put the stopper on there. Everyone talk about, I've done this, I've built this, but that's great. What have you built when you built? How did you execute when you execute, right? And no one really talk about that. Like you mentioned, you mentioned that you were in charge of 5 different marketplaces. If I tear it apart, I know you can tell me exactly how you do it. But a lot of these interviewers, they're so nervous that they spend their investor time in applying for job fail, rather than just pause. Just pause a second. Where's my candle? Oh, my candle is not here today. I usually have a lot of candle. Let's just zen and meditate for a second here. I want you to think about, are you really ready? If you look at the type of answer you have created, right? You've created at least 20 different stories at the bare minimum. Great. Now take the mobile phone, nothing fancy right here. Oh, that's my son. Just a mobile phone. Go to your memo, record yourself. What does that sound like? Are you long-winded? Did you talk for 10 minutes? Did you answer the question? Then that's why you didn't meet the bar for any company, not just Amazon. Okay, Asish, that's tips and a couple example for you. Let us know if you have any questions. Queen, hello, Queen, from DC. Well, welcome, VT. What technology foundation can you apply internally to other roles once within Amazon? That's an excellent question. Hang on, let me remove our name. And everyone, I will speed things through. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of her time, so. And also, I'm pretty sure that E's team and her skip level or manager is probably watching this right now. Hey, how are you? Thank you for lending her to me.
I say, I will put a PTO on there like, hey, you're representing the company. Just
of
do
course,
it wisely.
TPO, you're helping them recruit right here. This is like a bonus for you, for them to pay you, that is. What technology foundation concepts one needs to know for AWS Tech interviewed? Well, the question is very vague. Can you be more specific? What are you interviewing for? When you say foundation concept, are we talking about solution architect, TAMRO, TPM, product, PM, operation? What are you talking about? Because Amazon has 3 major businesses. the retail consumer, AWS, and all digital devices. So you just hit one of the largest one, which is AWS. At the bare minimum, if it's anything related to AWS, you need to know what the AWS services are. One, that's basic 101. You need to know what data center infrastructure is. You don't need to, if you're non-tech, you don't need to be knowing all the different framework that go into the architecture, but you need basic foundation. Is there something that I'm missing?
Well, yes. So I will say that there is lots of free content already that AWS provides,
Yes.
or you can subscribe. And trust me, you pay a very little, even if this is a paid stuff. Or even on Amazon, if you go to Amazon.com, and I'm saying now .com because I moved from .co.uk, there is lots of books about AWS
Mm-hmm.
and what exactly each department can provide. So even if you're prepping yourself, if you ask me what I will do, if they will ask me to move to that sector, probably I will do my research. It will probably take up to 90 days where I will be like attending variety of courses, then doing this book reading, and that's something I feel very
Mm-hmm.
passionate. So, and again, make sure you're fully aware what is the role that you are applying for, and there is a skills match, because if you do not match a basic requirement for the role, and we're very good at putting basic requirements and preferred requirements, if basic are not a match, it will be very hard to convince the hiring manager why they should hire you.
Also, last September, I did an AWS Women in Tech talk for the India group, and they're all about AWS. So if you go to YouTube, if you put AWS India group or just Google it, there's like a whole channel. I am really amazed on how far Amazon has gone to. It looks like different geography. They're like building an army. It's almost competing with each other to see which country does better. I see you. I know what you guys are doing, even down to swag and whatnot. So I would advise for you to check it out because they host a lot of free summit. Everything is free for you guys. And they talk about the AWS technology, diving deep from letting an offer, tech stack, and all of it. I get a notification from it. So just Google it, and I'm pretty sure you can find their direct YouTube channel as well as their business page. Business page? They're not doing, what am I talking about? Their landing page, okay? Blacklist. I love how my member have unique names. Blacklist says, this is maybe just directed to you. How soon can you internally apply to other roles once within Amazon? It's been a while since I'm at Amazon, so I'll let you handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I will say that all depends of how good relationship was with you got with the management, what goal you have set up for yourself. Because I have seen people that came and they are jumping between the teams and they not necessarily will do professionally well. I will say that there is no official policy, unwritten rules. You will say 10 to 12 months is probably a bare minimum where you can really learn the foundation of the teams, deliver one or two great projects, and then move on. I usually have been in the role minimum of 24 months when I knew that, hey, I could actually deliver to this organization, create something tangible, and at the same time live on a good note. So I wouldn't burn any bridges, and those people will still recommend me for another role. It's hard to do it in less than 10 months. However, I have seen very, I would say, great directors or SVPs who has moved very quickly, but they tend to be higher on the path. So we know that this path is very different. But 12 months, I will say, sounds sensible, at least minimum.
Yep. I mean, I have. I'm laughing. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I have a lot of my I call member VIP coaching member who landed a job at Amazon for a hot second. Right. I felt like every month, I said fine. He would pay me and said, Holly, when can I talk to my manager about internal promo? I'm like, listen, let's calm down. Let's hold your horses for a second. One, you don't even know what the Amazon bar is. Why don't you try to have about 100 interview, be very comfortable with the bar, and then and let's talk about what are all the products you are managing and building. By the way, how much revenue were you able to help Amazon generate? Oh, you haven't had a chance to do that yet because you've just joined for about 3 months. You're not ready for a promotion, right? So a lot of the younger folks, when they land a job there or newer in like their first big top company, they're ready for a promotion. They're chasing after the dollar sign, but it's all about what you have been doing that lead you up to that. I'm a believer that if you have a very good communication way of influencing your counter peers, cross-functional team, your skip level, your manager, right? People will notice you. Because being in a people manager role, we do talk about our high performer or low performer and who's ready for a promo. Okay. There are a lot of the time that we would nudge people and ask them to step up even in a management position. So when you are joining any new company in less than a year, you're asking for a promotion. Well, first of all, the biggest tip for all of you guys, did you actually document every single thing you have built? Because if you wait until the day that you're ready to get a promotion or have that conversation, your manager is going to push back and ask you, tell me everything that you've done. Okay? All right. Spot on. Amazing. Rawindar says, amazing. You have a fan here. This is from, thank you so much for the super chat. Christian from Rat25 in EU. Does that ring a bell?
It does. That's one of my teams. Let me see. 25 was the latest facility that we opened. That must be Madrid. That must be Spain. So, thank you. I hope I got this right. It's because when I was leaving them, I believe it's Spain. Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yep. I love it. I feel like every time I bring a guest, someone knows somebody and they just come in here just to support the speaker. That's excellent. Okay, I'm going to pick on those whom I have not provided love yet, okay? Because I'm extremely obsessed. I want to make sure that I'm able to answer everyone's question. If I miss your questions, I apologize. I'm trying to go through as quickly as I can. Shireen says, I'm not sure if I pronounce your name correctly. Please forgive me in advance. Is the loop via video call or just phone call? Also, should I expect technical questions on the loop or based on the LP? By the way, when you guys are asking interview type questions, please be extremely specific. What position are you interviewing for and what org or what team? Because if you are, for example, a PM, a program manager, interviewing for devices versus AWS and versus consumer is a little bit different, right? Because the tech stack is not even the same. Okay, so be very, very specific. In general, Loop interview is a video conference, which is, I think, are you guys still using Chime?
Chime, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right before I left, they were just building Chime, and we were the first batch to pilot Chime. And I remember pinging my boss, whom yelled at me. I remember pinging my director of talent, and I said, I don't want to say his name. I almost am like, what is this? What is this? Why are we not using Zoom? Why are we using this? And then he said, Holly, you're not being a team player right now. You need to use what the company's trying to build. I'm like, fine, I'll use it. That was one of the last conversation. It's funny.
No, trust me, it took me a while because like I was still using Skype in the past. And then when we had this transition, people literally had this notification, could you just switch, please? Or we have to do it for you. And I'm like, okay, like give me a few more days. And you usually have those contacts and those messages that you want to keep because they are also so important. So I had to write down everything. No, all of this transition was very good and positive. But to answer that question as well, if you are preparing for a technical role, do expect a technical question. I think that there shouldn't be any delusion there that if you are going for a role, let's say in operation, the level of technical question is very different if you are going for a role in AWS, OpsTech IT, or corporate IT even. So just that's something that people should be mindful of. And again, I think we haven't mentioned STAR today, but it's super important. Whoever is prepping for the
I'm
interview,
so glad you're mentioning STAR. Pause for 1 second here. I'm going to go to STAR when we wrap this up. Serene says, can I please, Holly, ask her to be my mentor? I'm going to answer this for her. I know she's very passionate. By the way, since you are on my video podcast show, there's a lot of messages of thanking me on having you on here. Apparently, you have affected a lot of people within Amazon. You help a lot of people transfer to different teams. So I mean, I get a lot of internal Amazonian reaching out to me to tell me that. But I'm going to say this for her because she's a very kind-hearted soul. If I were you, I would connect with Ewelina by reaching out to her via LinkedIn, and you can take it off from there. But guys, be very mindful. I'm not telling you what to do. Just remember when you reach out to one person, thousands of people are doing the same. Okay. And I would just let her be. Okay.
Okay,
Amy.
so I did a
Go
yes
ahead.
from me for this person. So just to make her day.
Yes. She said yes. Yes. Let me tie the knot. Yes. She
But
said.
that's very first yes in my life. So
That's funny. Amy says, since internships are generic roles, how do you prepare for an internship interview? I have actually helped interns before. By the way, when 2020 hit, the first 6 months, I provided free coaching. And I took a lot of new grad because I felt so bad and a lot of them are on the visa. They're here and they got the degree and no one would hire them, right? Because you don't need to hire intern when the COVID-19 just hit, and a lot of the company just need a moment to think about how they want to restructure their hiring initiative for the year, so on and so forth. So I'm going to tell you this though: you still need to know your story. Your story is going to be based on academia. What have you done? What have you built in academia? Some of the example, STE. I used to help quite a few STE program manager and finance people, but specifically, if you are a tech person, like some of the technical more like a technical program product manager, like people who have built gadget to help medical devices, and those were the academic experiences and they end up to be Amazonian, right? I have a gal whom tells me that, and she has no experience college going getting her bachelor's degree, and I said, okay, let's just pause for a second. When you're in college, let's talk about case study. What is the one case study that you're really proud about that's related to AI or ML because you're interested in AWS, right? And she said, yeah, I have a cohort together and we're trying to build a gadget, and then we're trying to monitor the way how physicians are trying to figure out what diseases that the patients have. I'm like, whoa, what? Okay, backtrack. Tell me more. Let's go deeper. How did you do it? So this is what I'm trying to say. You still need to use the STAR method to figure all that out. And we'll talk about the STAR method in a second. I think there are a couple new member. I'm going to wrap this up. Welcome, Michael. And I thought I saw someone else here. Okay, let's talk about the STAR method very quickly as we're wrapping this up. I teach I don't know what I actually have a digital course called STAR Interview Accelerator, where I focus on the STAR method, being extremely concise on written and verbal communication, because Amazon, I'm going to give credit to Amazon. That's where I have learned how to be more concise in my meetings. So I took that. I don't know if you've ever taken Project Management 101 at Amazon. That was one of my early on course.
yeah, but so through the past 15 years, we had to go through the variety of coaching. And I remember like sometimes I'm like, well, I'm even sitting here and they're like, you have to sit here because it's for everybody. I'm like, okay, thank you. And now we are doing this mandatory stuff that we are actually dropping like a keynote session and people have to attend. It's a good refresher always. So yeah,
That's
not
one
that
thing
I
I
have a
really love
choice.
about the
Yeah.
Amazon courses. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if they still do, but the time that I have joined, they removed the
Yeah.
white paper course, how to write the white paper. I was so
Oh, it's
devastated.
back. It's back. Yeah.
Oh, now it's back. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Can I take it? I'm not an employee, but I
Hey,
would love to dial
let's
in.
go by the A-Lot Bay. Let's do a
I
Sunday
mean, I
walk
talk
and
so
we
much about Amazon. You might as well teach it to me so I can talk more about it. So I'm actually teaching people how to write their Amazon writing exercise using the STAR method. Yes, people, because your paper, it doesn't matter what paper, it still has to make sense. What is your definition of the STAR method, and why do you think it's essential for an Amazon interview?
why is essential is actually a very structured way of putting your feedback or your answer across, and I think it gave you a chance to reflect of how you should divide your answer and what you should emphasize, and then again, if that doesn't adapt, we will ask you to elaborate on certain points. Therefore, I think that it helps to provide a very good structured feedback, create a great story in a very timely fashion. So that will be my answer. What's your view here?
Excellent answer. Yes, I agree with every single thing you just said while I put myself back here, and also the conciseness. I think that, you can Google STAR method and there's like 1,000 people or 1 million people by now who talk about the STAR method on all the different way. But the bottom line is, can you write your answer as concise as humanly possible, with breadth, with depth? a very strong business impact, and being able to deliver your message in under a minute. Remember, people at their attention span is so bored right now. It's very, I know, because when I run a cohort, some of my VIP members in the house. I'm excited because they're here and I know who they are. And they know this. When everyone come to me, the first reaction is, Holly, my friend is a level 7 BR at Amazon and he think this is BS. And you're trying to tell me I can deliver my answer in 45 seconds? I said, yes. So every single person who tells me that they can't give an answer in a minute or less, they're all Amazonians, by the way. And in my endorsement, a lot of them do mention I was able to deliver my message in utmost concise, because a full interview is about 45 minutes, 1 hour long, give or take, right? The first 15 minutes, the first or last, is small talk. How's it going? Like in this case, welcome to Seattle. How's it going for you? You have any questions about the role? Small talks, right? And then the actual questions. Every single interviewer comes in already have a pre-made of 4 to 6 questions, at least 3 competency or leadership principle or competency they have to ask you, right? That each one of those comes with at least 3 to 6 probing questions. That's why you need to get them very excited. Your answer need to get to the result as quickly as possible so you can play ping pong in an interview now. And people are just in front of a video conference day in and day out. Nobody want to be staring at the camera and listening to you for a 5-10 minute example. They will get very, very bored. Do you have any best tip to them?
Yes, I will say, guys, and I believe I mentioned that at the beginning of this call, that do not take the backseat just because your CV was accepted or just that because you have been down selected through the phone screen. Be prepared for this last final stage. And I think that that's the most important part. And if I will be doing that as well internally or outside of the organization, I will do the same thing. And again, don't forget, it is a very competitive environment. Just because there is, let's say, 10,000 jobs with this very similar job title, still it is a very tough process in general. So make sure you will impress those people, you bring those examples, and that will definitely score you well. And then don't reapply 10 times, because like I got lots of questions on LinkedIn saying, hey, I haven't been successful for like 10 times. And I said, I think it's the time when you should pause, self-reflect, and then do something on the side, right? Because if somebody told you 10 times no,
It's not going to
probably
make
it
it
may
any
happen.
better. Yep.
Exactly.
The most any of my member have failed is 15 times. True story. 15 times. And the member was so adamant of only, I don't know what it is. Maybe I should put like a tattoo that says Amazon on my forehead. I'm not even joking. Literally, they come to me and I want Amazon and Holly can help me. And that's it. I want to go to Holly for Amazon. I'm like, whoa, 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 wait, calm down. The process and just everything that we talk about, it's not just for Amazon, it's for any top companies, by the way. And we're going to wrap up with 10 speed. 10 speed says I have an interview with Google for a technical account manager position. By the way, the 10 bar at Google is very similar to Amazon as well. You still need to know the domain expertise, which is the text, right? The infrastructure. The biggest difference, and you still need to know, I recommend at the bare minimum 20 different story. The biggest difference between Amazon and Google is, I'm not being biased, okay? Amazon dives extremely deep. They want to see specific example and everything. Google is very conversational. So I would advise for you to tone it down a little bit. Okay, like for me, I don't know if I can pass the bar if I have to re-interview at Google again. I may be too much for them, okay? Google environment likes to brainstorm. The decision-making process is a lot more cautious versus Amazon. They love to take risk. You hear a lot of what we talk about. I was being put here. I have 10 projects in front of me. I'm not confident, but my manager is. You see that? That's Google. I'm sorry, that's Amazon. At Google, not that at all. At Google, it's more of take a deep breath, try to onboard yourself. Here's project number 1. Do very, very well. What questions do you have for me? So you need to show up extremely polished in your verbal communication, because the communication style is learning more about the knowledge. Do you have the knowledge and the foundation, and have you have experience delivering result before? But they're more looking on the breadth level and less on the depth level. Okay, at the bare minimum, if you follow my process in prepping for an Amazon job, right? You're focusing on the type of interview questions. You're not focusing on the leadership principle at Google. Okay. Even though, guys, I know you've noticed, um, Amazon call it customer obsession. Google call it customer centric, and Facebook call it, I think they also call it customer focus as well. Okay. You hear what I'm saying? So the core value of companies are very much the same. If you can pass the Amazon bar, you can get a job in any company, because that's really what happened to a lot of the YouTube member who's doing it for free. Um, Thank you so much, Ewelina, for spending your time here. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much, and good luck, guys. Best of luck, regardless of which company you are going after. And it's difficult, it's not always easy, and I understand. And I got lots of people reaching out as well to me saying, hey, help me out. And they also applying to different companies. What I want to say is do your homework. It always work, and it did work out for me as well in the past. So best
And
of luck.
one
Thank you for
one
taking
last
time today.
thing, what are you hiring for your team?
So currently I'm managing process engineers for last mile logistics.
Oh,
So I
last
learned it
mile.
here,
Okay.
4 months ago, and we are focusing on North America. So that's again a very new area for me. Yes, I'm still
That
trying
seems
to
like a
figure it out
pattern with
my
you.
way.
Everything you do is a new area, and that's what kept you around for 15 years.
It's true, and I have a great people. Yeah, great people who usually come with this offer. And my always biggest challenge is how I should let those people down who really want me to join their teams, and that's usually my biggest struggle. So it's getting better over time, I will say. Yes. So there's this joke at Amazon. People who know me well, they say probably it's easier to say which team she hasn't yet worked on or interacted with than go through all of the list of the teams, because we only mentioned the 3 or 4 that I
You
have
know
worked
what? Just
for. Yeah.
listening to your current team and what you're managing, I may have a referral for you who are actually one of my member right now, because I know them very, very well. I will ping you. I will ping you, girl, offline.
Excellent.
We will,
Sounds well.
yeah, we'll touch base soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Best of
Bye.
luck. Thank you.